Mom wants me hospitalized over messy table. When my mom and aunt visited us last week, I noticed that I was having panic attacks. My psych thinks my anxiety is surging due to some missed doses of meds, so we're correcting that. Mom called today to propose an exercise challenge where we would hike, bike, or run in new territory. I agreed on principle, but shared that I am dealing with some anxiety and have less bandwidth for the unfamiliar, so I'll stick with neighborhood walks for now. Then my mom sent my husband some texts. Here's what she said. Please read to the end. 1. She feels I have lost touch with reality. 2. Why wasn't she told about my mental deterioration? 3. My husband needs to place me in a locked facility and go live his life. 4. I am effed up and will F up his life, drag him to extremes, suck the joy out of him and make him placate me from one unmanageable moment to the next 5. He needs to turn me over to the pros who will make me take responsibility for my actions. 6. My husband tried logical replies, but she didn't seem to respond to what he said. 7. She knew I was bad word for mentally ill people when she saw our cluttered dining room table with mail left on it, etc. We have other places to eat, but she wants sit-down dinners at the table. Either you sew a patch into my child's sweater, or you remove it from your son's. This is a WhatsApp conversation I came across a few hours ago. I was waiting for a friend to get in my car to drive to work together. I was unalive sometime on Facebook and found screenshots from the conversation. For more context, the kids involved in that WhatsApp convo seem to be in elementary school, and they have to use uniform. Fake name for obvious reasons. Here's the conversation I translated from Spanish to you. EM. Asterisk. Good evening, are you Bubba's mom? BM. Asterisk. Good evening, tell me, how can I help out today? EM. I'm sorry to tell you this, but my son tells me that yours has a Sonic patch sewed into his uniform. These cartoons are what's in it this time, and honestly, I find it unfair because my son is actually a fan of Sonic, and yours has caused ruckus. I tried to search anywhere for someone who could do the same job. BM. Asterisk. Yep, my son has it overlapped into his jacket because I can't place his personal info for safety reasons. I sewed the Sonic patch myself. I'm so sorry you couldn't find anyone who could do that job for you, but I can send you the sewing pattern for you to attach it to your son's jacket. EM. Asterisk. You serious? I have no time for these things. I actually have a job. How can we resolve this? Either you sew the patch into my son's jacket, or you remove it from your son's so you can sew his full name just like everyone else, and we're all good. BM. I'm sorry to hear you don't have time to spare for your son to make him feel special. I'm not going to sew his jacket. I'm not going to remove the patch from my son's jacket either. I'm doing my best to make my son feel special and make him happy and eager to go to school. I'll kindly ask you to please don't contact me, unless it is for school matters. Otherwise, I'll have to report you to the school management. Have a good one. EM. Asterisk. Too bad you're teaching your son how to be pretentious and self-centered. You'll regret this when your son gets older. Good night. BM. Asterisk. Instead of this nonsense, why don't you focus on raising your son? I'm raising mine my way. See you. Would the truth make you want me more? I have to admit something, and maybe it should feel shameful, but it just feels electric. There's a thrill in knowing I mean more to someone when I slip out of my everyday disguise. When I accept that invitation, money promised, pleasure unspoken, I let a side of me escape that I don't show anyone else. Sometimes, when I glance at the jewelry around my neck, I'm reminded of how powerful it feels to be desired and rewarded. It's not just about the cash. It never was. Not really. It's the way his eyes linger, the lines I cross, the secrets I'd never whisper to my friends. Every message, every late-night call pulls me further into a world I know I shouldn't crave. But I do. And here I am telling you, knowing you'll imagine the rest, just by the way I pause before hitting send. Some confessions are meant to be half-told, tucked behind a sly smile and a blush that refuses to fade. You can judge me, or maybe you're just a little jealous. Either way, now you know I like being someone's secret indulgence, and maybe I like having you as my audience, just as much. I am a stalker and a bad person. I have been stalking my ex for over a year now. After about 9 months, we got back together. only for him to break up with me because I am emotionally unstable. I got him to fall in love with a character I made. I made an account on a social media I won't name in case he sees this, where I pretended to be a mentally ill girl desperate for attention. This account was originally just a vent account and had old vague vent posts that kept up with the mentally ill girl who wants attention thing. He fell in love with it within a day. He thinks he's dating this thing, and soon I will reveal that he was fooled into dating a girl who doesn't exist. I told this to my friend, and he says I'm crazy, manipulative, and toxic. I know he's right. I just can't stop. Every time I try to stop being this way, I fail. This is just me. Everything gets the same results. There is no win. The last 2 days, my mom has been in a constant mood, like agitation, yelling and complaining for the last 48 hours. I have stayed calm the best I can and have tried to not break down or get frustrated with her. But no matter what I do or even don't do, she has yelled at me for it, especially today. I have a cat, a little sweetheart who has gotten me through the last 2.5 months. My mom scared him yesterday, and I told her that. She got mad at me as if it was my fault. Today he had an appointment as he's a bit sick. The vet came in, talked a bit, then went out to do a few things for my little boy. As soon as she went out, my mom immediately changed, went from sweet with the vet to berating me, specifically bringing up what happened yesterday, saying, "I'm not going towards him, he's scared of me," in a very condescending tone. And he really is scared of her. He has flinched after seeing her, squirms when she tries to give him his medicine. I thought I needed help. I was wrong and have done it myself now, and refused to let her pick him up when at the vet. Yet she still doesn't see he's terrified, just continues to be mean and angry at him. No matter what I've said, she has yelled at me today. I asked her a question about something, don't remember exactly what, but just a simple question. She immediately snapped at me. Even just talking to her, she snaps at me. The vet for my cat said to not give him anything other than the food they prescribed and his medicine. My mom wanted me to go against them and give him a dry food we got, after a few days on his new med, despite them saying not to give him anything other than the given food and medicine for the next 4 weeks. I told her I won't be doing what she said. Her response? "Oh, right. Because I forgot you know everything." I'm just following the vet's orders. I have stayed quiet. I get yelled at. I have followed her. I get yelled at. I try and communicate. I get yelled at. I ask a question. I get yelled at. I even speak. I get yelled at. No matter what I do, it will always give me the same results. I will always get yelled at. She has decided to blame her mood on Mercury going in retrograde, which is not a reason, but an excuse to yell at me no matter what I do and to try and make me leave it alone and take it. She likes to say me being on testosterone is not an excuse for my agitation, despite it changing my hormones and agitation being the main side effect. But she believes because I'm using that as an excuse, she can use astronomy as hers. But that's not that same as my hormones literally changing. But I guess I'm stuck with whatever this is until she decides to stop. Whenever that is. I wish I wasn't stuck. But with what she's done with basically my life, I am stuck until further notice. I might be 18, but she is forcing me back to when I was 8. Sweet, petty, malicious compliance paying $20K in fines with mainly coins. https://www.bangerdaily.com/2025/08/001/central-main/government/main-man-pays-20k-in-fines-20k-in-fines-of-pennies/ The case of a contractor who violated shoreland zoning rules in the town of Palermo took an unusual turn last week when he used a small swimming pool's worth of loose change to pay the bulk of his $20,000 in fines and fees. Kurek estimated more than 60 buckets of coins were removed from the premises to be transported to Machias Savings Bank. It took bank tellers multiple days of counting to confirm the full amount. Rent increase. I have been living at home for close to 3 years now, ever since moving home after a breakup. I would first like to say that I have no problem paying rent to my mother, as I pretty much always have while under her roof. Me and my current GF have been saving for a while to move in together and have our own apartment. I told my mom our plans and it seemed to stress her out. She had nothing positive to say about it, only that it's so expensive out there. Yes, I know that. Since then, she's asked that my rent be increased and framed it in such a way that she's struggling to make ends meet. Now here's where my touch of resentment comes in. Ever since I've moved in, she's been able to travel and take vacations for nearly the first time in her life. She's signed up for some annual vacation club going to Jamaica every year and planning weekend concert getaways as well. I feel like I'm out here grinding for my future and her enjoyment. Is she being entitled, or am I being entitled for thinking this way? I cut myself and abuse Adderall and hide it. I made this account mainly because I really had to get this off my chest. Things I'm so shameful about I couldn't confess to people I knew. To start, I do self-harm, more often than not, with a razor. Now this experience is common, however it becomes worse because I tell my GF to not cut herself. She is indeed under the impression I don't cut anymore, however as she cuts herself, I do too, but only in secrecy. I feel so bad, and I haven't in like 2 days, but I feel so awful about it. I feel like such a sleaze, but I don't know how I'd confess it to her. She is aware that I self-harm, in her mind used to, but I just never told her I kept doing it. I reassured her that I wasn't, and I feel so awful and like a dick. I abuse Adderall. While it is an unprescribed supply, it is insanely clear I have ADHD. I do not wish to list out the symptoms I suffer from, but do know that I do have ADHD evaluation in the months ahead. However, I do abuse this drug. It makes me feel so good, and I take it when I'm down. I get work done, I feel great, and I couldn't care less about the fucking crash. I just can finally feel normal on it. Like my cutting, I do not tell my GF about it. I feel so ashamed about my usage, but at the same time, it helps me greatly. I feel so awful. I feel like a sleaze and a shitty boyfriend. And I'm very sure most would agree. My partner's parents tried to bribe me. Not my parents, but my BFs. My BF, M36, and I, F34, have been together a little over a year. His parents hate me over a gift. I will try to link my old posts, but it's in my history, but I gave a jokey gift in a basket of other gifts to MIL. Not legally, but easier to call her that, on Mother's Day. She and Phil have been just awful, but the siblings and significant others have had my back as well as my BF. Last night I stepped out to tend my garden and had to get some stuff out of my car. There was a letter on my car. OP, we are deeply sorry if we offended you. Please understand that we, as parents, love our children and you have now taken all of them from us. This smear campaign is going overboard. Please do not be cruel. And also a check for $15,000. I showed this to my BF, and he took pictures and sent it in the sibling group chat. This morning was a blizzard of calls and texts. My BF got texts from his mom and he asked the obvious WTF. She said she figured that was a peace offering as she knew I grew up poor. The rest of the talk went a bit like this. BF, Mom, this is too far. I'm sorry, but this is just over the line. OP and I are no contact. Do not contact us and do not come on our property and do not come near us. Stop. Just stop. Mill, I wanted to protect you, but if you want to be stubborn, so be it. Keep her. But don't lose us. We are your parents. We love you. She can leave you anytime she doesn't want you. Parents never abandon their children. BF, if you loved me, you would have accepted the person I love. I know damn well you don't like her. You made it very clear. Mill, she's no good, but it's not my choice, okay? I know it's not my choice. You have to make your own mistakes. And she sent a wall of text of why I am not good for him. The very apparent reasons of me being queer and not religious were there, but here are my favorite other ones. I am thin, so clearly I am on drugs. I garden, and clearly I am growing drugs. I am of a particular race, and in certain parts of town that race sells drugs. Our children will be sick because I will do drugs while pregnant. Oh, and I like anime, which makes me immature. There were more, but it's just bizarre. Fucking hell. Signage not allowed? Fine. I'm forwarding this from someone who works in Yosemite National Park. He manages a building which houses staff, both male and female. There's only one restroom in the building, long story, with 2 stalls. As one might imagine, not all men who use stalls keep them in a condition that women would care to confront. So this building manager taped the astrological sign for Mars, a circle with an arrow coming from it at a 45-degree angle to the upper right, on one door, meaning that that stall is for men. He taped the astrological sign for Venus, a circle with a plus sign coming out from the bottom, on the other door, meaning that stall is for women. Again, as one might imagine, Yosemite is a hot mess. Not only because they're way understaffed and swamped with visitors, but also because of arbitrary rules from above, shall we say. A month or so ago, he was advised that the women's sign, but not the men's sign, must come down. He complied. But then, in its place, he put another identical men's sign, but with a red circle over it and a diagonal red line through the circle. Mission accomplished. Food stamps, caseworker blues. About 20 years ago, I was applying for food stamps, and during the process, I informed the caseworker that I made a few bucks a week collecting and returning 5-cent soda cans. She informed me that I had to call her and report this as it was extra income. So the next day, I did, 9:30 a.m. Hi, this is me, I found a nickel can. 10 o'clock. Hi, this is me, I found another can. 11 o'clock. Hi, I found another can. That afternoon, when I made my 5 call, she told me I no longer had to report my extra income. I never heard anything more about it. Is it entitled for a parent to demand I change my phone wallpaper? This isn't really a solid thing I can label as entitled. I'm really not sure, but I've posted here before and figured this subreddit might have some advice, or be able to tell me if I'm overreacting. Okay, so I, 17F, do photo manipulations as a hobby, and recently I made one of my OC I was super proud of, and I set it as my phone wallpaper. It's not inappropriate in any way, nothing naughties and no nudity, or anything political in any way, it's just a bust shot. When I showed it to my mother, 55F, she just kind of went silent for a moment, and then immediately started ranting at me about how it was ugly and I had to change it. When I told her I was super proud of it, she told me that if I didn't change it, I shouldn't come crying to her if I get hate crimed. I was really stunned by this, but she's my mom, so I did change it. But later, when I told my friends, they all freaked out and said it was super weird and controlling. I was hoping this subreddit could offer some insight since our insane parents doesn't allow text posts. Is this entitled or weird, or am I just being a typical know-it-all teenager? I feel like it is, and I'm hoping I'm not wrong, but I wasn't 100% sure. Edit. I forgot to mention said picture is my PFP. Friends XGF want me? Hello everyone, I am M, 21, regretting for sending N** des to one of my friends XGF. So this happened yesterday. I was chilling and drinking with my friends. Suddenly she, my friend's ex, texted me and we start talking normally egg. What are your plans after college and all? Then suddenly she start talking about her ex, my friend, who was right in front of me. At first she was just blaming everything, oh him, and I was like, oh okay, ha. Then she started talking about their C**UL relations and blame that his D**CK was not sufficient for her, she was not satisfied, and need a D**CK who can make her mad. Till now I was a bit drunk and I started flirting with her, even she wanted me to flirt with her. Then she asked me for my D**CC pics, but I denied politely, but she insisted me to send pics, or she will send the screenshot of me flirting to my friend, but I still denied. Then all of a sudden she send me a photo her touching herself. I scold her for that, but she keeps sending an * des too. 3 videos and about 7 pics. That made me hard as steel. Then I send her mine too. I think she liked it. I'm writing this day after that incident after hangover. Dropped a quarter out of my pocketbook that landed by my foot, only to hear behind me, "Go get it." Update. For those calling this fake, you're breaking one of the rules posted by this subreddit. Nobody cares if the story is fake. There are no truth police here, so move along. Also, those who type something to get some bot to check you also are breaking rules of pointless arguing. Edit. I was shopping at Michael's a few years ago for Wilton chocolate melts, so I could use my Star Wars theme ice cube trays to make Star Wars themed chocolates for opening night of Star Wars The Force Awakens. I had the chocolate I needed, and I reached into my pocketbook to get my pen out to cross off get the chocolate melts off my things to-do list I was going to get out next, and when I reached in, a quarter fell out of my pocketbook landing by my foot. I watched it fall. Also, I say pocketbook because it's how I was taught to say purse. Suddenly, I hear a voice say, "Go get it," from behind, and before I could get my quarter, a kid who had to be no more than 9 comes running up and grabs the quarter, then runs back and stands next to his mom. I ask the woman for my quarter back, and she says, "What quarter?" I say to her, "I just dropped a quarter and I heard you say to your kid to go get it." The woman continues to deny that she told her kid to do so until another woman behind her tells her she heard the same thing I said. The woman still refuses, feeling entitled, telling her kid go get the gumball or whatever candy he wanted from the quarter candy machines. As he does that, the mother flips both me and the other woman off, but an employee who saw and overheard everything took the woman's cart and went to return everything in the cart. The woman said she was going to buy all in her cart. The employee said she wasn't, and she can show herself out for her entitled behavior. The woman left after grabbing her kid by the arm and muttered something in her native language as she left. Worst high I've ever had. Was out at my buddy's place last week for a guy's trip. Everybody was smoking weed, drinking beers, and some doing mushrooms, fishing, the usual. Thursday night I smoked a lot of weed. I just remember sitting on the couch. I got so high I could feel my brain heating up. It was like it was melting. And the fucking fan, spinning on the ceiling, it fucked me up. I could hear every rotation of the blades. It sounded like womb, 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 constant, never ending. And for some reason it terrified me. I was just so zoned in on this fucking fan, I started thinking really dark thoughts like my girlfriend's gonna leave me, I'm gonna die, kept having gory visions of car accidents and blood, etc. Eventually, my buddy took me outside after I kept saying the fan was bothering me. I asked him at one point, "How long will this go on for? How much did I even smoke?" It was only 2 joints and being passed around. But I took some fat rips. He said it's only going to be a few hours, but it felt like an eternity. I also kept telling him how afraid of unaliving I was. It was fucking bad. My mouth was so dry he kept telling me to eat cheese, but I was scared for some reason to eat any cheese. So I just sat there, locked in my own mind. I'd been getting high all week. I even took edibles and smoked at the same time a few days before, but for some reason on that night, just good old smoking hit me hard. Scary stuff, man. Probably won't touch weed again for a while. The talk of Star Wars, video games, and philosophy is nice, but the paranoia just sends me straight into the pit of hell, and I find it harder and harder to get out of it each time. Does anyone else have this problem? Oh, I'll smile all right. I, 21F, work part-time at a retail clothing store while I'm finishing college. It's your typical mall chain, overpriced basics, weird music, and managers who think the customer is always right, even when the customer is actively shoplifting. One day during my shift, my manager Craig, 40s, always smells like Axe and insecurity, pulled me aside and said, "Hey, I noticed you don't smile much. You should really smile more. It makes customers feel welcome." I said, "You mean be friendlier?" He said, "No, literally just smile more. Even when no one's talking to you, just keep a smile on." Okay, Craig, you want smiles? You got it. For the rest of my shift, and every shift after, I smiled. But not like normal smiling. I smiled wide with too much teeth. I smiled while folding jeans. I smiled while sweeping. I smiled while telling a Karen we didn't have her size. I smiled at customers until they asked, "Are you okay?" One guy legit said I looked like I was about to snap. Another asked if I was in a cult. A little kid started crying when I greeted her at the fitting room. Co-workers caught on and joined me. We started calling it smile mode. By the end of the week, it looked like a haunted mannequin showroom. Craig finally told us to tone it down. I asked sweetly, still smiling, "Oh, I thought you said to smile more." He didn't bring it up again. My roommate kept eating my snacks, so I filled a bag of chips with broccoli. Living with a roommate who keeps stealing your snacks is honestly a special kind of hell. I'm not talking about the occasional, "Oops, I thought it was mine." I mean, every single time I buy chips, they magically disappear within 24 hours. And it's always the good stuff too. Never the oatmeal, never the canned corn, just my chips. I brought it up a couple times and got the usual, "Oh, I thought we were sharing" excuse. We weren't. So one day, I decided to try something different. I took an empty bag of sour cream and onion chips, filled it with raw broccoli florets, still cold from the fridge, resealed it, and casually left it on the counter, like bait. Not even an hour later, I hear the bag crinkle, followed by unalived silence. Then the sound of the fridge opening, like he was trying to put the broccoli back where it came from. I didn't even look up, I just said, hope it was worth it. He hasn't touched my food since. In fact, he labeled all his snacks now. Broccoli, 1. Snack thief, 0. She won't quit. Let's bet. Last week I was called into work and I was already overstimulated with the job from the day before. I just wanted a day off to relax. I got there. I have to deliver my 200 packages, then deliver another route's 50-plus packages, and plus deliver the mail on top of that. I was on my period, and it was 90-plus degrees out. A coworker seen the look on my face, I guess, and asked if I was thinking about quitting. I said yes. 10 minutes later, I'm walking past him and a lady that just got hired at our station and who was always complaining about her route and how much she had, etc. I walked past as she was saying she won't quit. I already knew what I had to do. I was already planning on quitting, but I wasn't quitting that day, at that time. As I'm loading the mail truck, I heard, "She won't quit," echo in the back of my head. Really rubbed me the wrong way because how are you going to say what I will or won't do? I took the rest of my packages inside, placed the mail truck key back on the key hook and went home. She had to deliver the packages I left. She had to deliver the mail. She probably got over 13 hours that day. Made some money, so it wasn't really petty other than, I know she hated every moment of it because she doesn't know my route at all. She hates the heat also, and IDK, she complained about everything under the sun, so I'm sure she was complaining while she was out there. I left a stressful job. Amen. I'm in my early 30s and I feel like I'm going to be alone forever. I, 32F, had a long relationship that ended calling off a wedding followed a year after by a shorter one with an abusive partner. I went to therapy for a couple years and discovered myself again. A year and a half ago, I started dating someone that was sure about starting a serious relationship with the same goals as me. We had to break up because I actually felt neglected in terms of attention and communication, and I just couldn't deal with that anymore. I've always been a very organized person, academically outstanding with a promising career. To be honest, I've reached milestones that my peers haven't for years, but my personal life sucks, and right now I really think it's always going to be like this. Also, I gave up on having kids and getting married because of my age, and that broke my heart. I just feel old and unsuccessful. Revenge for the future. My sister got involved with an old BF about 12 years ago. He coaxed her into leaving her husband and kids. There were other things going on in my family at the time, but this situation really caused chaos in my family. The kicker is my sis was his count 'em, sixth wife. She divorced him about 8 years later. He got married to number 7 and they are now divorced. He is currently engaged to wife-to-be number 8. And I am seriously considering letting this poor woman know what she is getting into. I'm sure she doesn't know. He never has told past wives, and if he did, it was all that bitch's fault. Poor lil ol' me. Should I exercise my petty revenge and let future number 8 know what number she is and how he is not marriage material? My college roommates and her friends would eat all of my food, so they ate brains. I was in college full-time and working full-time, so I had little time to meal prep. I would make enough meals for a few days and store them on my designated shelf in our shared dorm fridge. I'd come home from a very long day and just want to eat and relax, but I'd almost always have no food left. 9 times out of 10, I'd actually walk into them eating my meals. They'd even have the guts to say how good it tasted and they're sad there wasn't more. I've asked over and over to stop eating my damn food. Nope, wouldn't listen. So I went home to my parents' house and made a lot of spaghetti, good spaghetti, knowing they would most certainly eat the whole thing. Sure enough, I get home to my dorm after a long day, and these 3, not even my roommates' girls, are standing in the kitchen eating my spaghetti, and the huge bowl is almost gone. The one girl says to how much she loves it and wants to know how I made it. Straight-faced, I tell her that is a common meal we make on the farm. We go to the butcher and get head cheese. That's the meat in the spaghetti. She was confused, total city kids, and didn't know what head cheese was. I answer, well, it's pig brains. It's really good, isn't it? That's what most of my meals are made from. She throws my bowl of spaghetti down and runs to the bathroom puking everywhere. The others took off out of the dorm running too. That is how I ended them stealing my food with such sweet, petty revenge. Nobody touched my food ever again. Nor did they talk to me. Win-win. Also, the meat was not head cheese brains, it was pork sausage and very lean beef mixed together to resemble cooked pig brains. Edit. All right already, Geesh. Head cheese is not brains, is everything but. In my family, we just use that term as all-encompassing. Every family has things like that. That's one of ours. Lighten up, Lowell, I truly wish this wasn't true. I would have been a lot happier and ate better. These girls were the true definition of zero fucks given. No morals. Asshats. When I say puke everywhere, I mean everywhere in the bathroom and on the carpet just outside. She was already puking by the time she got to the bathroom, and puke painted the bathroom trying to get to the toilet. Thanks for all the comments. It's been fun to read your stories, too. Reclined seat on 1-hour flight. Have a sore neck. My friends and I traveled between Sydney and Melbourne at the weekend on Qantas, 11 a.m. flight. Usual sardine can, no legroom. Chap in front of my friend immediately reclines his chair as soon as the seatbelt light goes off, essentially cutting off the blood to my friend's lower legs. When asked if he could sit upright, he responded that he had the right to sit back. Cue the petty revenge. My friend directed his air nozzle towards the guy's neck for the remainder of the flight, and we sat there and giggled as he tried to get comfy with the cold airflow. We imagined that he woke up the next day with a stiff neck and no idea why. Kept us amused in any case. I feel jealous and betrayed by my friends and feel so worthless now, and it's unalive me. I am a 20-year-old man who just got kicked out after my friends, 4 guys, 4 girls from high school, disowned me a few days ago for not being able to take a very racist joke. My parents told me to man up and don't listen to me. Just got kicked out of therapy because I can't afford it. And I saw on Instagram they are enjoying partying and having fun without me. It makes me cry now, how cruel they can be to me. Don't know what to do. Petty revenge is best served stinky. This happened back when I was in high school, 2009 or so. For years we had an awesome school bus driver, nicest lady you'd ever meet, all of middle school and first year of high school. But in sophomore year she got moved to a different route and was replaced with this witch who clearly hated being there and was constantly screeching at the most minor of things. I always had gum on me, and often shared, and I tossed a piece to my friend in the seat across from me, one of those small Trident ones with the white paper wrapper, 2 feet at the most, and I've done this for years. The witch sees this in her rearview mirror and decides to punish me by separating me from my friends for 2 weeks, having to sit at the front of the bus. This annoyed me to say the least. So, what do? Well, my parents had a garden, and they had a few chive plants growing in it. Super pungent onion smell. So every morning I would grab some, and as soon as I took my seat, would cram that wad into my mouth and chew it like gum, making sure to breathe through my mouth. Then would spit it out after we arrived, pop a few pieces of gum and continue on. The first day or 2 she just gave me a glare. The 3rd she asked me to not eat whatever I was eating. The 4th she called an administrator on me, saying I was being defiant and maliciously trying to annoy her. He asked me to stop, and I basically just responded, "You can't tell me what I can or cannot eat." Literally nothing he can do. Send me to detention for maliciously eating something? Ridiculous. He basically told her his hands were tied, and he couldn't actually punish me for my diet choices, and went on his way. I was back with my buddies the next week. Enjoy your wedding. So, this was back in the good old 90s. Friend of mine meets new girl. She decided that any time he spent with us was simply time taken away from her. Pretty much any time we just want to hang with our friend, she tells him he's not allowed to see us. No real reason. She just thinks he doesn't need to hang with his friends since he has her. A year went by and they decide to get married. I was assigned the task of planning the bachelor party, and I really disliked the whole idea of bachelor parties in the first place. Friend's fiancé pulls me aside a day before the bachelor party, which I hadn't even planned at this point. I just figured we'd go hang out at a bar and have one last good night together. She tells me there is to be no alcohol, and above all, no strippers. Personally, I'm also not into strip clubs, but this sounds like a challenge. So we take our little friend out to the local trashy strip club. get him good and liquored up, get him a few lap dances, and then it's the end of the night. I drive drunk boy back to his apartment, put a t-shirt on him that I bought for him at the strip club, and leave him passed out in front of his door, and ring the doorbell. Next day, he's uber hungover for the wedding, and, of course, his now wife is pissed at me. Didn't see much of them for the next 2 years, when he got divorced. It's ugly, but I hate men. Yet I am male, biologically and socially. Please don't judge me. I was born with it. I hate the way men talk. I hate when men assume they know things that they don't. I hate when men try to speak for you and they don't know what they are talking about. I hate when men attempt to box you into a corner or identity and they don't know who you are or won't give you the chance. I hate when men think they're protecting something and they really are just getting in the way and fucking shit up. Like everything was fine before you showed up, mister. Like men are the fucking worst, and they think they are so big and so great. They are literally the cause of global warming. It's weird, but some would say I hate my own gender. Why? Maybe trauma? Why? Maybe I'm just tired of the male species in general. They are toxic. Like, I'm so fucking done. I've been sexually violated by the male species itself. I'm so mega angry I have no words. It's men who are fucking America up, and women who live only to serve men. It's men who unalive far more than women. It's men who abuse far more than women. And it really has me angry. It's awful. It's toxic. It's bothersome. Who in their right mind wouldn't see what I have? I'm so sick, like icky sick. He's autistic is not a valid excuse to let your kid disrupt everyone else. Autism acceptance is important, but there are boundaries. I was in a hot tub recently, just trying to relax, when a woman let her autistic son jump in and treat it like a kiddie pool. Splashing, yelling, jumping around, completely ignoring that a hot tub is meant for calm, not chaos. A few of us politely mentioned that it wasn't appropriate, and her only response was, "He's autistic." Then she pointed to the main pool and told us to go there if we didn't like it. As someone who's also autistic, I find this kind of enabling incredibly frustrating. Autism doesn't mean you get a pass to take over shared spaces or disregard others completely. Inclusion and acceptance don't mean no rules. We should be teaching autistic kids how to navigate the world with support and boundaries, not encouraging the idea that everyone else has to adjust while they do whatever they want. This kind of behavior doesn't promote understanding. It creates resentment and makes things harder for the rest of us who are doing our best to be mindful of others. Realized SM very serious. I just realized my mom had some type of cancer which she fought and won. The thing is that when all this happened, I was only 8, 9 years old. I didn't even knew the concept of cancer. I just remember that she and Dad went to the hospitals for months and months. When she came back, she obviously didn't have hair due to chemo. As a child, no one told me how serious this situation was. It is today that I was watching a reel about a cancer survivor, and suddenly, this memory clicked in my head. When she and Dad were not home, I checked all the medical papers of my family and got to know that she had breast cancer. The thought of even losing my mother scares me, and the situation could have been actually true terrifies me. I have been crying secretly in my room since the past few days. Eng is not my first language. Never assume someone is the help. I was building a house in an established neighborhood. It was a pipe stem lot, the last one in the neighborhood, and had recently been offered for sale. Since it was the last lot, it was fenced along 3 sides before I started. The first floor deck was done and the windows were delivered. The window company spread them out along the base of the foundation and along the fence. I was there alone at the time of delivery. For context, I am a woman of color, in my early 30s at the time. The neighbor to the left side, white male approx 55, came over and started yelling about the windows being on his fence. He wanted them moved. This was his fence, yada yada. I stared at him. I'd never seen an old white guy have a temper tantrum before. I'm pretty sure he thought I was some paid laborer and not the actual homeowner. As I said, I was there by myself. I moved the windows by myself, some were 4x5, farther down the fence, past his back property line, and also propped up more, awkwardly against the foundation. There was a gate along the fence between our properties. We were framing in the second floor early one evening, when I saw the old guy with his wife, drinks in hand in their yard, near the gate. When they couldn't open it, they walked down to the end of the fence and were peering around. I was cracking up. After that very unpleasant exchange, I was sure there would never be a time we would need to use that gate, so I nailed it shut. I, a straight dude, want to live with and be married to another dude. I, as a straight dude, want to live with and be married to another dude. Before any of you guys come in here and tell me that I'm secretly gay or bi, I promise you I'm not. Maybe I witnessed too many unhealthy relationships between men and women, or maybe I have some crazy, subconscious, deep-seated sexism against women, but I genuinely think I might just want to not associate with women on a romantic level at all. I would rather have a close friend group of other dudes rather than a girlfriend or wife, if I'm being honest. But I do recognize that living alone might be boring and lonely if I don't have a significant other in my life, hence the husband idea. We would both work, earn money, go out on vacations, enjoy hanging out with each other, engage in hobbies, chores around the house, and yeah, be legally married for tax purposes. The other guy can still sleep with all the women he wants to, of course. There is no real romantic relation between me and this other guy. Does any other guy feel this way? I know if I talk about this to another person in real life, they will 100% think I'm hiding in the closet or something. But I genuinely think that living with and committing marriage fraud with another dude would be really cool compared to being married to a woman. This concludes possibly the gayest thing I have ever written. I have a couple things I'd like to share. 1. Sorry if that was clickbait. 2. I have a weird thing for diapers, just the feeling I just want to need them. My other buddy who wears them, probably the reason I'm into it so much, said that it was probably due to some traumatic experience in relation to diapers, and that's why I want to wear them so much. He wears for medical reasons. He said he's been mistaken for an ABDL, basically adult or adolescent who wants to be a baby, I think, a couple times and thinks that's what it could be for me, but I'm not sure. 3. I'm so sorry if that was too much for this subreddit. I haven't had a lot of direction lately and need to just express myself. We'll delete if this isn't okay for this sub. Revenge by proxy. I'll start by saying that I'm gay. I had a boyfriend for many years, and we ended up getting married. But this story takes place when we were just dating. My boyfriend and I lived in Arizona, and my mom and her husband lived in Minnesota. My dad and his wife also lived in Minnesota. That is where I grew up. My boyfriend and I had gone back to Minnesota for a visit. We stayed at my dad's place while we were there. My mom lived about 40 minutes away. She told us we could stay with her, but that we would have to sleep in separate rooms, since we weren't married, in reality because we were gay. My dad and his wife didn't care, so we just stayed at my dad's and would go visit my mom and her husband during the day. When my boyfriend and I did finally get married, we did not go back together to Minnesota for a visit. My mom's husband ended up passing away a few years later. My mom started dating another guy a year or so later. My mom wanted to go down to Arizona to visit, and her boyfriend joined her. My mom was going to stay at my sister's place with her boyfriend. My sister told my mom that her and her boyfriend wouldn't be allowed to sleep together since they weren't married. My sister knew about what my mom had told me about us. My mom was not happy and asked my sister why she would let other unwed couples stay together, but not her and her boyfriend. My sister calmly responded back that it was my mom's rule that my sister was just abiding by. My mom and her boyfriend ended up staying in a hotel instead. I took money from my parents for rent to buy a ticket to NYC to hook up with someone I met on Reddit, and I don't regret it. I, 22F, a college student, art major, in Texas, working a BS part-time minimum wage job at a coffee shop. Things lately have been very ass, had a bad breakup last semester and been barely keeping up with rent and school. Things have felt really stuck lately. I feel lonely and it's the same boring routine every day. A few months ago I met this guy on Reddit. He's a med student in NYC, a few years older. I actually found him on a NSFW page where he had posted his incredibly impressive junk LOL. Anyways, we chat, we start talking often, and he kept telling me how he would love for me to visit. Honestly, the thought of that was crazy, but I loved it. I ended up calling my mom, and may have guilted her into convincing my dad to send me some money, Told them things were hard balancing school and work and I need help, otherwise I won't make rent. Dad, bless him, sent me a few $100s. I took the money and against all logic booked a trip to NYC, not knowing if this guy was who he said he was or if he would ghost me or anything. To my luck, he was the real deal, LOL. I stayed at his place for the few days I was there. He took me to some nice restaurants and sightseeing, and we had some of the best naughties I have ever had. I'm back in Texas now. Definitely a much-needed trip and change, but I also spent a lot of money that I didn't even have, so I'm kind of in a very tight situation. I'm looking at a second part-time job or something that can pay a bit more because I can't ask my parents for any more. Was I stupid? Probably. But I gambled and had a very memorable time. Can't wait for my next trip, Lamau. The time I stole a cat. Well, I didn't exactly stole a cat, but did more of a jerk move. When I used to live in university dorms, we had an open-air cafeteria at the ground floor, and there was a cat that used to hang around the area, which I called Mr. Cat. Yes, very imaginative, I know, but I don't like naming animals which I don't own. It makes me feel like I am encroaching on their freedom. Anyways, after a while I've befriended the Mr. Cat, and we had our breakfasts together. I would feed him a little salami and a couple licks of honey and whatever was on the menu that I could share with my little friend. After breakfast, we would chill together while I did whatever I was doing at the time. One morning, I sat on my favorite table. Usually, Mr. Cat would spontaneously teleport by my side by the time I had my tray, but not this time. First, I thought something might have happened to him, but after looking around a little, I saw the little Casanova on someone else's lap. Now, I'm not proud of what I've done at the time, but I did a little puss-seeps to get his attention, quiet enough that only he would hear it. He bolted right off their lap, and we returned to our usual routine. I want to apologize to that fellow cat lover for stealing Mr. Cat off your lap. I know it was a jerk move, but I couldn't help myself. My parents think you should be married with kids at 25, but never ever have spoken to a member of the opposite gender at 24. Does anyone else have parents like this? My boomer Chinese parents are extremely conservative, and will scream if they see or hear about a college-aged kid in our family dating. OMG. When my sister was in college, not middle or even high school, they lost their shit when they heard her talking to a guy friend on the phone, and turns out he was literally gay too. When my sister met our grandparents for the first time since she was a kid, she's 26 and we hadn't been back to China in 10+ years, the first thing they said, before, "How are you?" or "Have you eaten?" or even "What's your name?" was, "But so old, why not married yet?" They are obsessed with marriage, and are also constantly trying to set up my relatives, cousins, and even friends of friends and church neighbors with the most random people. Because any child in their mid-20s who isn't married with kids is useless, because they consider them expired. What good is creating offspring if they won't fund your retirement plan and give you grandkids? Yet if their kid is dating in their early 20s or has moved in with their SO before marriage, they find this scandalous and improper and start screaming and insulting them LM Phao. My best friend, not Chinese, is 25 and moved in with her BF last year. She has a great job and apartment, and when my parents heard, they literally said so many negative and misogynistic things about that and acted like she was bringing shame to her family and things I can't even repeat here. Yet they scream and complain that my sister and brother aren't married yet at the ripe old age of 26 and 27. I don't really get the logic in all of this. Meet the new boss. Had a coworker who was a total peenoid. Everyone in the office, and I mean everyone, couldn't stand him. Let's call him Dick. Our company, about 50 employees, was sold, and when it was announced, there was also a printed announcement distributed informed us that the new owner would be hosting an evening event at a local restaurant, so he could meet us, and we could meet him. The coworker who produced the announcement, using some sort of graphics program, emailed the file to the woman who did our in-house printing and copying. Her job was to print it out and place it in everyone's mailbox. However, she was sent the raw data file, not a PDF, and had to open it in the graphics application in order to print it. This allowed her to edit it. She printed out copies, but made and printed a special announcement for Dick. The one that everyone else received specified that it was a dress-up affair, meaning ties and jackets for the men. The one that Dick pulled from his mailbox said to come dressed casually, and wear a company logo t-shirt. She also changed the start time on his sheet only to an hour later than it was supposed to start. Since people refused to interact with him, he never saw the official announcement, only the one that was placed in his mailbox. My role in this was to make sure that Dick's modified invite was removed from his desk and destroyed. At the restaurant, dinner had been served, most suit jackets were draped over chairs, and we were all eating when Dick walked in wearing shorts, a company logo t-shirt, and Crocs. He was given a name tag, we all had one with our name and job title, and shown to his seat. The new boss noticed, and when he was making the rounds after the meal, ignored Dick. 3 people were laid off in the next few weeks, a normal thing when a company changes hands, and Dick was one of them. Determined to be worthy of my wife and children's love again. I'll preface this post by saying that I know I fucked up, but I'm doing everything I can to stay strong and prove I can be a man that's worth fighting for. I, M28, and my wife, F27, had been going through some awful challenges. A big one was a drunken fuck-up on my part back in 2023, and I then got completely sober. I had fits, etc. when I cold-turkeyed alcohol, but deemed the risk worth it over losing her. After that event, things gradually picked up, and we got pregnant with our second child. Totally different pregnancy from the first child. My wife got prenatal depression and was a shadow of her normal self for the entirety of the pregnancy. I tried my best to be the constant in her life and supported her through some things and thoughts that honestly made me ill at times. At the end of it all, we had a beautiful baby boy, and all was good and great again. Except I couldn't seem to settle and bond with him, and that really got to me. I bonded with our daughter perfectly, and he seemed to just hate me in particular. It really got me down and feeling inadequate. My wife noticed this and had a discussion with several friends, family members before me, and then essentially told me to stop being so miserable or you're gone. This is where I made the wrong choice. I should have gone to therapy, etc., and got ahead of it. But I turned back to the bottle, and in doing so, turned our lives upside down. So I now don't live with my family, don't get to do the nighttime stuff with my kids, and only God knows if I can ever be good enough for my wife again after betraying her by drinking again. So there's my confession. I wanted to end it all, but that would be the coward's way out, and my kids deserve better than that. I'll keep fighting to prove that I can be a man worthy of my wife and kids again. I said 4 pieces! What's up, party people? Some simple MC here from the meat and seafood department of your Arizona hometown grocer. An old lady, a customer who insists to me that she is a regular, even though I've never seen this particular septuagenarian before, starts spitting, quite literally, vile filth at me from the very onset of our interaction. It's like a bad movie about a dyslexic meat guy who has a healthy dose of ADHD. Do you work in this department? I thought you were new, you might be new, so I'll say this as slowly as I can. I need Dover sole. Okay, sure. Coming right I need 4 pieces. As I'm starting to pick the fish, I realize that both the Dover sole and the rockfish are in the same row, and I originally thought 4 pieces was only 3. I tried to explain this to her, but to no avail. She doesn't understand displacement theory. I need 4 pieces. Okay, enter MC. I don't know where she thought I was going to magically find an additional Dover sole fillet, but I decided to work my magic. I weighed out the 3 pieces, printed the sticker, took the pieces to the side to be wrapped, then sliced 1 fillet in half. I then put it back on the scale so she could see. 4 pieces, right? The crazy thing is that any time I take a knife to a piece of meat fish at the customer's request, regardless of the reason, I had to enter it as a choice cut. When I reweighed the whole thing, I knew it was going to be more money for the same amount of fish. It was literally double the price. She walked off with her seafood, looking like Bert at the end of any Bert and Ernie Sesame Street episodes, with a womp womp whoomp coming from a nearby trumpet. TMDR. There was an old lady who swallowed a fly. She insisted on paying more for the same amount of fish. Update. Here's what I do when I write. I have my phone, and whenever something I think happens that's a good MC, I type it in my notes on my phone. I've done that for like 4 or 5 things lately. I haven't posted in a while. This happened a couple months ago. There was more to it than the just cutting the 3rd piece of fish in half and charging a fee for cutting, and she gets 4 pieces, yada yada. She was super funty to me, like big time. So I was like, oh yeah, we're making you a story. Even though there really wasn't much happening except that. So yeah, this one sucks as is in comparison to what I usually write. The good news is I just wrote one that I feel passionately about where the head honcho wants the deli department to write down where they go and when and why and be specific. I had fun with that one. Usually my upvotes are in the 90%, but not this one. My bad. My mom made fun of my moobs and said she would give me S*X change hormones. 3. For context, I am overweight, about 28 BMI and very high triglycerides, 250, 300, so I'm very out of shape. I was talking to my mom about how I need to eat better foods, specifically less fat, and she brought up that my friend, same age, who is not overweight, also has high triglycerides, so it doesn't have entirely to do with my weight. She then asks if I feel better about it, and I said no, I don't feel better because I was feeling down about it. I only feel bad about the friend. Asterisk this, the first thing that might be considered insane. Asterisk, she moves the convo to about my body and that my moobs are bigger than what she had at my age, trying to humiliate me, and makes me show them to her, and asterisk makes asterisk my dad comment on them. Asterisk, he just says I do need to change my habits, asterisk. Then he leaves and I ask why she felt the need to make me feel that way. And she said, I had to make you feel bad so you could feel better. When I had made it clear that I knew what I needed to do, it just didn't make me sad. And then she moves her tactic to threats. Asterisk second thing, asterisk. She said she might as well force me to take S*X change hormones since I want to be a woman, because I have a feminine chest, which is a stupid reason to say that. I have never said this and don't want to be trans. I'm not transphobic, I just like being me. I then said, no, you're not, and started to laughter at the fact she thought she could do that. She then asked why it was funny, and I said, that's the stupidest thing you've ever said. And she told me to give her my phone, so I retrieved it from my room and gave it to her. When I went back into her room, she said, when you learn not to be disrespectful, you might get your phone back, and don't ever tell me what I am. Me, that's not what I said. Her, you told me what I'm gonna do. Me, yeah, because you're not going to give me S*X change hormones against my will. Her, I'm gonna do whatever the F*CK I want. Then I left and she told my dad to talk to me about it. So my dad came in mad and I asked what happened. She told him I was being disrespectful. I told him the story and he said, I don't know what to tell you. You know she does this. BTW M13. Edit. My mom likes to make threats in the heat of the moment, and last time I brought it up she tried to say, it happened 3 weeks ago, when it was within 5 days. I know I should have talked about it before. Don't scare women in the dark. I was at a party and wanted to go buy some cigarettes from a petrol station. It was around midnight. It was a short walk, maybe 500 m, along a lightly winding bike path in a village in Germany, with the road on one side and bushes/trees/fields on the other. There were barely any cars. 2 people on bikes passed me, but generally very quiet. So on my way back, I was a bit concerned when I heard rustling 30 or so meters ahead of me, thinking of a boar from the forest. I stopped and waited, but the rustling sound persisted. It was just behind a curve and I couldn't see shit. Then I heard some whispers and stifled laughter. Male voices. I'm not scared in the dark, but the thought of men clearly hiding in the bushes did make me nervous. I stood still, not knowing whether to run, creep back to the petrol station, call for a friend from the party to get me or whatever, when one of them said, maybe she went a different way, in a hushed voice. Since it wasn't a whisper anymore, I kinda recognized the voice as one of my idiot friends at the party, which was then confirmed when I heard another familiar voice say, there's just the one way, she'll be here any minute now. The adrenaline already surging through me turned my fear into rage, and I was just about to start screaming at them when one of them said, let's go around the bend and see if she's already heading towards us. This birthed a different idea, and I did the Homer Simpson bushes thing. Well, not quite since the bushes weren't very dense, but I tried my best. I heard them walk around the corner and positioned myself facing the bike path, grabbed a thin branch and waited. Then I saw their shadows, then them. Just as they were about to walk past me, I snapped the branch. Now would be the time to mention that I am pretty pale with jet black, almost waist-length hair that I let loosely hang to the sides of my face. The two dunces turned their heads at the twigs snapping, saw me, and screamed like toddlers. Hot damn, I didn't know grown-ups even had this kind of vocal range. They even grabbed at each other from sheer terror. Sadly, the moment was quickly ruined by me almost pissing my pants with howling laughter, but it was still very nice while it lasted. The aftermath was what probably everyone expects. They became angry and started shouting at me. I shouted back, asking what they were intending to do then, followed by them sheepishly stammering around a bit, and then admitting that they had it coming, and finally us going back to the party, and me boasting to the others as well as recreating the visual effects over and over while cackling. How I was raped when I was 4 years old. So I'm a guy, by the way. But when I was 4 years old, I got raped by a girl named Amber. She was trans, and I don't know her age, but my sister told me a couple years ago, and she had a condition where she couldn't stay in the sun for too long. This incident took place at my daycare. Amber lived on the second floor of the daycare with her mom. This is how it started. First, Amber told me to go under the table with her. I was 4 years old, so I followed her under the table. The table was by the front door BTW and the door was clear. Then she started my pants down, and then she grabbed my stick and put my stick inside her mouth. Then after like 10 seconds she stopped, then she started to pull her pants down. And then she told me to try putting her stick in my mouth. I said no. But then after 10 seconds, she forced me to put her stick in my mouth. She kept her stick in my mouth for like 10 seconds. Then she let me let go. I remember it tasted salty, but then Amber's mom called her, so I started pulling up my pants. And she pulled up her pants, but they were not pulled up all the way. So her mom noticed and told her to pull her pants up, and then Amber went back upstairs. Amber did this 3 more times and was never caught once. Today, the daycare is closed. Now I can still taste it to this day every time I wake up, but I stop tasting it when I eat or drink. Also, I have never told anybody in my family about this in my life. I might tell somebody soon. Amber is in high school. Now my sister told me,